Everyone's got the same amount of time to do whatever it is that they want to do. Now it's understanding, as it relates to sacrifice, how am I going to spend my time? What are the things that I'm going to do to either get better or to stay the same?
Chad Peterman here, and you are listening to Can't Stop the Growth, a platform for leaders and teams to grow and thrive. We highlight the importance of personal development, pursuing greatness, and always chasing your potential. Let's get into it.
Today, we're going to talk on another one of Maxwell's laws. We've got, I think, three left. Today, we're going to talk about the law of sacrifice. I think it's interesting, especially in the industry that we're in. I don't know that there is, I'd put our industry up against anybody when it comes to the amount of sacrifice that is needed to operate one of these businesses. We always talk about it. You come in and you look at that board and you have to perform every single day. There literally is no off day. You're always thinking about it. As I think about kind of my journey in this, I've been in this, it'll be 14 years in August. And for 14 years, I've thought about this every single day. There isn't a day that goes by that you don't think about what do we need to be doing, what aren't we doing, what needs fixed, all of those things. And I would assume that a lot of you have been in that same spot that have spent time in this industry. It never shuts off. And I think the interesting thing about that is I think we get a lot of practice with this law and we're very good at it, right? You guys are sacrificing day in and day out to make sure that everyone on the team is successful, the company's successful, and that we're taking care of customers. And so that being said, I think there's always a level that we can continue to take that, right? Maxwell says a leader must give up to go up. And I would agree with that. What are the things that you're willing to sacrifice in order to get a little bit better? And I've got a few examples a little bit later on, but I think that the difficult part in this is, when we talk about sacrifice, we talk about being uncomfortable. To me, those go hand in hand, right? When you sacrifice, you're essentially giving up what is currently comfortable, what you'd rather probably be doing for the thing that you know that you need to do to continue to grow, right? And so when we think about that, I think the other piece of it is, especially in this industry, is what we do, right? It's very, I think, sometimes difficult to embrace sacrifice when we're sacrificing for the betterment of others on the team, right? It's like in any relationship you get into, there has to be that level of trust. Well, the people that you lead on a daily basis, they can disappoint you. They can leave. They can do a bad job. They can have a warranty call. All of these things, but yet as leaders, we have to continue to sacrifice, continue to pour into others, because we don't just put in furnaces and water heaters and electrical panels. We build people. We grow people so that they can then take care of our customers. And to me, that's where sacrifice becomes really difficult, right? It's like, am I going to sacrifice for this person that effectively could leave me high and dry, could take advantage of me? That's the tough part, right? That's where sacrificing, we may want to pull back. We may not want to sacrifice as much, but we have to fight through that. We've got to embrace the sacrifice, because it's my belief that while it feels like a sacrifice in the beginning, if we do it long enough, it becomes the new normal. It becomes that new way of life. Think about anything in your life that you have, whether personal, professional, whatever it is. There's tons of examples, but think about that one thing that you sacrificed for, and in the moment it felt like a sacrifice, but as you look back on it, that is just your normal way of life at this point in time. Think about a new workout routine or eating healthier or whatever it is. Once you get through that first 5 to 10 days, all of a sudden it doesn't seem like much of a sacrifice. You're like, well, shoot, this isn't that bad at all. But it's getting over that hump. It's embracing the sacrifice needed to continue to grow. Leadership is no different. There is a lot of sacrifice that oftentimes you may not even realize. I think that's the interesting part as well. When you start to think about sacrifice, you may never have thought that, shit, I think about this company and this business a hell of a lot, even on my personal time. I thank you for that. But again, that is sacrifice. You could be thinking about something else. One of the things that probably, if people always ask me, what keeps you up at night? I think what keeps me up at night is the fact that I do sacrifice for this place a lot, right? And who does that hurt? Well, it hurts my kids. It hurts my wife. It hurts a lot of things that you have to be able to juggle there. Am I being the best dad if while I'm playing with my kids, I'm thinking about how we can get 3 more installs on the board and what's going wrong in this department and how do we fix this and whatever the issue is, right? And so trying to balance that is difficult. It's been difficult for me for as long as I've been doing this. Probably something that I struggle the most with because I want to be a good dad. I want to be a great husband, but I also love what I do. And my hope is that through that sacrifice, I'm hopefully showing my kids how to, what sacrifice means and growing and pouring into people and hopefully building something very, very special that we can look back on years down the road and be confident that we made the right sacrifice, right? And so when we break sacrifice down into kind of like those 4 levels that Maxwell talks about in the chapter, the first is position, right? Giving up your personal comfort, right? That's waking up early. That's making sure that you're here for the guys, all of those things. I want to come in early and, we see all of our managers and everybody getting ready for the day so that others can be successful. Well, that's sacrifice, right? It may seem small. It may be like, well, I don't mind getting up early. I'm an early riser, all of these things. But very rarely have you ever heard of a leader who's, he's the leader, but he's always late. Or he's never here, or I can't get a hold of him, or whatever it is. Those are all things that you are sacrificing that you may not even know that you're sacrificing. The other is permission, right? Permission refers to letting go of your ego. This is one where I think a lot of new leaders have to understand and get comfortable with is you're going to still make mistakes. Even if you're the leader, you'll still screw up. I screw up on a daily basis. Over the years, I've screwed up probably hundreds of times, but that's okay because the worst thing you could do is to act like you don't ever make a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. It's the willingness to put aside your ego and say, yeah, I screwed that up. How are we going to fix it? Or what do we want to do different next time? Whatever it may be. I always think of the one thing I'm really passionate about is recruiting. Well, guess what? Sometimes we pick a bad one, right? Sometimes we hang on to someone a little bit too long. Sometimes we do all of these things, but that's okay. That's part of learning. That's part of growing. So I challenge you to think about today, what are those things that owning up to that, especially to your team, may build even more trust. Hey guys, I goofed on this one. Thought it was a good idea. It wasn't. Now we're going to kind of pivot and we're going to go in a different direction. Again, think about the times where a leader is, admitted fault. There was probably a level of trust that increased there with that relationship. The other is production, sacrificing time, sacrificing in the way of doing something different that will help you grow. I think about this with all the free time that I have. Like one of my biggest excuses right now and why I don't do some of the things that I used to do that were highly productive is because of the kids. Yep. Kids take up too much time. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. But then yesterday, as I was preparing this, Blake was taking a nap and I was sitting there. And rather than, I kept thinking, as I prepared this, I'm like, oh shit, I'm kind of guilty here. Because I'm sitting there watching some mindless TV show when I could have been reading a book, I could have been looking up something. I could have been doing a number of different things that probably would have been a hell of a lot more productive than watching whatever. I can't even tell you what I was watching. I don't even know if I was watching it. It's like one of those things you just flip it on and you get halfway through the show and you don't even know what actually went on because you've done 14 other things. So it's things like that where are we conscious of what our time entails? My parents have this, like, I think it's I don't know where it's at, somewhere in their house, but I've read it, where, everybody has the same 24 hours. Everyone's got the same amount of time to do whatever it is that they want to do. Now it's understanding, as it relates to sacrifice, how am I going to spend my time? What are the things that I'm going to do to either get better or to stay the same? Right? What am I going to do with the hours that I have today to get a little bit better? Am I willing to sacrifice? Or am I going to just go through the motions? As I was looking over my notes this morning, it was like 8:03, and I could have easily just sat there or flipped around on my computer or whatever it is, but I'm like, okay, well, practice what you preach. Like, we got to do this. And there were like 10 thank you notes on my desk. I was like, well, let's just go knock those out. So in about 12 minutes, I was able to knock out all 10 of those. Well, that's done. Well, that's a lot more productive use of that 12 minutes than just flipping around on the internet or walking and, doing something goofy or whatever it is. We all have those times on our calendar when we can either choose to do something productive or we can choose to do something kind of mindless and, kind of waste that time. So on the production side, I think there's a ton of opportunity. I just told you about 2 examples in my life where sacrifice gets hard because it's really easy just to do nothing. It's harder to do something. And the last one is people development. I spoke about this a little bit earlier. The hard part in this industry is sacrificing for someone else who could potentially let you down. That's the hard part. But what I have learned is that the only way to continue to grow is to be vulnerable and to trust. Now, yes, trust, but verify. But you've got to put that trust out there, or else you won't be able to grow. It's the number one thing when I talk to other business owners and they're like, I just can't grow. You know what I tell them? It's probably you. They don't like to hear that, but that is the case in most instances. People who want to grow a business, who want to grow in themselves, oftentimes the problem is right between their ears. It's because they don't trust anybody else to do anything. They want to control every single aspect of everything that is going on. And in doing that, you only have so many hours in a day. So you can only do so much. If you want to continue to grow, there's delegation, there's training, there's empowering your team. All of those things are what allow you, as the leader, to effectively do more with the same amount of time. Everything comes back to people. You can automate to death, but at the end of the day, in most instances, you're going to need people to help you carry out whatever it is that you're trying to build. That fear of losing control is something that we talk about a lot, right? Losing that control. Because when we have control, we're comfortable. When you got to give it up and let somebody else do it, that's where it becomes a little bit, I don't know. Do I really want to do this? Am I really going to go through with this? How do we apply sacrifice? So we've talked about it, right? I think the first step is just reflection. What is holding me back? What are all the things that I know that I need to be doing? If I'm trying to lose weight, you already know what you need to do. In most instances, you have all the answers. I need to eat right. I need to exercise. I need to burn more calories than I intake. That's how you lose weight. Pretty simple math problem. But why aren't you doing those things? What is holding you back from doing the things that you know that you need to do? The next one is, what should you be delegating? Are you the one holding back your team's growth because you won't allow them to do anything? You don't trust them to do anything. If you sit down and think about all of those things, like what are all the things that I'm doing on a daily basis and what shouldn't I be doing and someone else should? How am I going to teach them how to do that? Because it's very easy to say, well, I just don't understand why they can't do that. It's quite the other to say, how am I going to spend my time wisely to teach them how to do that so that they can grow as well? And oftentimes these things that are holding us back, these things that we hold on to, they're very, very small. We hold on to all of these small things that become a lot of small things that don't allow us to do the bigger things. And so if they are so small, and a lot of them we do mindlessly, just like today, I could have spent 12 minutes doing nothing. That's really small, right? It's not a hard thing just to do something else. I didn't have to move out of my seat, but it was a hell of a lot more productive, and it was a small thing, right? How many of those instances within your day are we wasting 10, 15 minutes here or there? I bet there's quite a lot. I know there is in my life. If you want me to waste 10 or 15 minutes, I can do it with the best of them. But it's about consciously reflecting on where is my time going? How is it being spent? Because that is what sacrifice is about. When we hear the word sacrifice, it seems like a big thing. It seems like, oh my God, I have to change my whole life. Most of the sacrificing that we do are small little things. They're not big. They're small adjustments. But a bunch of small adjustments can get us a very, very big result. What are those things that you need to give up? What are those things you need to stop doing? What are those things that you need to start doing to get where you want to get? Now, here's the other key piece as we close out. What I have found, and you find this, and think about the things that are important in your life, whatever that may be. Oftentimes, sacrifice becomes a whole hell of a lot easier if we connect that sacrifice to not the immediate win, not the immediate gain, but to the bigger why. Why are you making all of these sacrifices? Prime example, if the goal is to lose 10 pounds, if you lose 10 pounds, you're probably not even going to really notice, right? So it can't be just like, oh, I want to, you may feel a little bit better. All of these things are just minuscule. But if the why is, well, I want to be here for my kids down the road. I'd like to live a little bit extra time. That why can become really powerful. I want to sacrifice so I can become a better leader. Well, what does that mean? Why are you doing it? When you connect sacrifice to a big why, something that you're willing to fight for, those sacrifices become even smaller. So all I have to do is do that, and I can earn this, or I can accomplish this. What are those whys in your life? Why do you work so hard? Why do you get up early? Why are you here every day? Why are you doing some of the dirty jobs? Why are you willing to go out and help guys? What is that why? That is the key to making sacrifice a little bit more comfortable. For me, why I do it, why I'm so passionate about this, is yesterday, I'm sitting around, wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I get a text message from one of our newer electricians. And he says, I can't thank you enough for, he thought I approved his pre-employment time off, but he said, thank you for doing that. My daughter is so happy that we got to come down to Florida, and she turned 8 in Florida and sent me some pictures of them swimming in the pool and stuff like that. Like, that is why I do what I do. That's why I'm okay thinking about work when I think about it. all of that stuff, because that was really, really cool. That was a hell of a lot better than selling another job. To be able to have a hand in creating a place where people come and people are passionate about the work they do. It allows them to do fun things with their family. Like, that's a powerful why. To see young guys come in, starting a career, to see some of the stories that we've had where people, started as just an entry-level apprentice, just trying to learn the trade, and now they're, leading a branch or supervisors or what have you. Like, to me, that's the cool part. That's why we work so hard. The early mornings, the late nights, the weekends, whatever it is, like, that is the cool result. That, to me, makes the sacrifice all worth it. Now, for each of you, you've got to find that why. And it can be very similar. Maybe that's why you do it. Maybe there's people on your team that love working for you and love, getting better and doing the hard work and all of that stuff. And maybe that's why you do it. And maybe that's why you do make some of the sacrifices that you do. I know I am grateful for all the sacrifices that everybody in this room and on this call make. Know that we are building something really freaking special. We're going to continue to make mistakes. We're going to continue to try new things, but we're doing it to create the outcomes that people in this room can be proud of. We're doing it to hopefully impact someone else's life on our team, because that is meaningful work. That isn't just working to work. That isn't working so that we can, make more money and do all of this stuff. If we can all sit there and understand that the sacrifice that we make on a daily basis is impacting others' lives, our customers, most importantly, the people on our team. When we connect those two, I can guarantee you that the sacrifice will be worth it. So find those areas in your life that you want to get better at. Reflect on what you'll need to sacrifice in order to get there. And then make those small changes. Make those small sacrifices, and they will ultimately turn in to big results.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to connect with me personally, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel and consider joining the CSTG arena. As always, keep growing out there.